and welcome to the latest edition of Healthy Fayette County. I'm Trish Hapa, a member of the core team with Healthy Fayette County, representing my club, the GFWC Fayette County ESO. And I'm here with two guests today from Reed Hospital. I have April Coffin and I have Barbie Will. Would you tell us about yourselves and your background?
Sure. Well, thank you for having us. So my name's April, and I'm the Director of Reed Outpatient Behavioral Health and the Behavioral Health Services. We provide services here in Fayette County off of Park Road and provide services in all of our surrounding counties as well. We do medication management, therapy. We even have a pediatric neuropsychologist. We have inpatient services. And that's a little bit about what we do for Reed. But about myself, I live in Richmond, Indiana. I love Connorsville, though. We come here very often. And I graduated from Purdue from my undergrad and then and my husband and I moved to California and lived out there for 12 years, just something different. That's where we both went to grad school and got married and had kids. And I've always worked in the social work field. I worked for a nonprofit organization, a foster care agency, in a residential treatment program. And I loved it. I love working with people and children and families and communities. I like doing some micro work, some macro, but mostly therapy. I'm very passionate about therapy. And I have two children. I have a 15-year-old and 11-year-old, so I'm very busy. We're very active volunteering, and just the kids are active in sports and after-school curricular activities. That's a little bit about me.
She's busy. Okay.
And thank you for doing the spill about Reed. So I am April's clinical manager for Reed. So, and about me is that I'm not from the Midwest. I actually came up here from Louisiana. I started out in pharmacy and then had a switch in career. And so I ended up doing a bachelor's degree in social work at Southern University and then my master's degree at LSU. I have loved social work ever since. Been doing this about 15 years. I really enjoy working with patients one-on-one. And so I'm really passionate about the field, and I hope that I do this for the rest of my life. Yeah.
I think when you know a social worker, there is a certain type of personality that does that, and it doesn't change no matter what you're doing. Probably in the grocery store, you're probably doing things to help people, and it's just, it's a passion that you have, isn't it?
I think we're both guilty for that.
I would definitely say so. I think, because like when I meet other social workers, other therapists, like I think that we tend to have like more outgoing personalities, and we're quick to jump in and help, and so when you meet one, you definitely know.
Yes, you do. And mental health is something that is sometimes has a stigma to it, and you think, well, somebody's got a bad back or something, but mental health is something that we need to concentrate on for ourselves as well as others. And can you tell me why you think it's really important to focus on mental health?
Sure. So mental health impacts how we think, how we feel, how we behave. Our mental health impacts our physical health, our social well-being, our relationships, how we do at work, how we do at school. And it also impacts how we manage difficulties in our lives as well as changes that come about. And so making sure that we are taking care of our mental health makes those areas a lot easier.
I appreciate how you said back pain, because sometimes people want to put more of an emphasis on taking care of your physical health, where mental health is just as important. They really go hand in hand.
They do.
I think a lot of times that if you're having a down day, the back hurts more anyway. It seems it is the whole body that yes. What are some of the things that can negatively and positively affect your mental health?
Well, so negatively, current events. We see a lot of people that are very stressed out about politics. I mean, we see a lot of people about the political scene. climate change, religion. So just current events can be very negatively or positively impact it. Loneliness, that's the number one reason for, there was Mental Health of America did, they took a poll, right? And I think they determined loneliness was the number one factor for depression. And if you think about it, right, since COVID, so many people have isolated themselves, and we have a lot of places of employment that now you can work at home and everything's virtual, and people turn off their cameras for virtual meetings. I mean, we have a lot of virtual meetings, and we try to keep our cameras on, so we might be the only two. But people are lonely, and that can contribute to our poor mental health.
So can I add to that real quick? So there was actually a study done that showed that loneliness had more impact on our physical health than smoking a pack of cigarettes every day. So, and that low social interaction was twice as harmful as obesity was to our physical health. And on top of that, I tend to have all these like little research studies at the back of my head, because like when April mentioned current events, like that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
I think it was some study that I had read where Americans were reporting that 73% of us feel overwhelmed by what's happening on the news, and that we like to turn it off because it's just so overwhelming, and which is going to again impact your mental health.
And that's something that you have control of. You know, I like to sit and watch Good Morning America for 2 hours, and some days I don't. You know, I can turn that off and listen to music or watch something else, because if it is upsetting, you need to control that.
Yes.
Another part of
true.
that is social media, so that can negatively or positively impact us. So for those that, I mean, technology is one of those things that's not going away. If anything, it's becoming more prominent, and we all have to adapt to it. So like AI, right, the artificial intelligence, but so many people are on social media, and they have algorithms that make things populate on your phone. So it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but if you have extreme anxiety or depression and you continue to see those posts that elicit more of a negative response, so that can negatively impact our mental health and also our life choices. So it's a choice of taking care of ourselves healthy. So I always joke, that's why for water, I'm really bad about drinking water, but we have to have a well-balanced meal. We have to be physically active. I'm not saying go exercise for an hour each day, but being physically active and drinking water and just making those lifestyle decisions, because that will help promote positive mental health. And then drugs and alcohol obviously would have a negative impact on our mental health. The other positive parts for contributing to mental health would be just self-care. I think that it's hard for people to remember to take care of themselves. Social workers are probably one of the worst, because we want to take care of other people, and then we put ourselves on the back burner.
Put your mask on first,
Yes.
as they say on the airplanes.
We use that analogy all the time.
And then you can't pour from an empty cup, so you have to fill your cup up too.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are just some positives and negatives.
And when you talk about loneliness, we partner with the Connersville Parks and Recreation, and they have a program, Living Well, Aging Well. And part of that is just for socialization. People can come in and play cards or play games or listen to music, or they have a music bingo things. So you need to be aware of what's available to you that fits in your comfort zone. But things that you don't realize, how much loneliness can affect. I know a lot of people have, my dog and my cat, if not for them, but they don't talk back exactly, like sometimes you want.
Sometimes that's not a bad thing.
That's true. Other than they rare, like, where's my food? Yes. Do you think that now people are talking more about mental health than they have in the past?
Oh, definitely.
And that's a good thing.
That is a very good thing. And so, and the reason that it's so good is because, like, if we're talking about mental health and there isn't that stigma behind it, then we're more likely to seek care, right? And so I would definitely say that, like, a lot of efforts have been made to increase awareness about mental health. I mean, this right now, I think April and I have done more community events, like more TV spots, more what we've done podcasts, we've done Instagram reels, just to bring awareness to mental health. And because the more awareness that there is, it reduces that stigma.
Right.
And then so again with my research, so there was a research study done recently that showed that actually with all of those efforts in place, more than half of Americans feel comfortable talking about their mental health now, where it wasn't that way in the past. And so people feel comfortable talking to close friends, family, their spouses, even like religious leaders. People are talking more about it, definitely. And you would think that there would be differences between like the younger generation and older generation, but the studies are showing that it's pretty on par. Like the younger generation is talking about mental health just as much as the older generations are.
And gender too. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And gender too. Like men are starting to feel just as comfortable as women to talk about their mental health.
Do you think it's helping with like the gymnast who takes time out of the Olympics because she has to take care of her mental health, and the football players,
I think that's
letting
helped
you know.
that people in power or people that are in Hollywood share their own stories and testimonies. And then, as Barbie said, just more and more people feel comfortable sharing, and it then helps those other people feel more comfortable.
Right.
And it reduces the stigma.
Right, and that's so important, because it used to be, they have
Right.
Exactly.
Depression. Ooh,
you want to talk about that, but it's,
Yeah.
and then I think a lot of times when you do admit to having an issue with something, and it's like, oh yeah, I have that too, and
Right.
someone, we didn't
Yes.
realize that that's what that was.
And then we build a sense of community around it because affinity groups are so important. So those groups where we have a common identity that we can connect with. And, so many people find support in like support groups for mental health, depression support groups, anxiety support groups, suicide survivor support groups. So,
AA, NA.
yes, all of those groups. When we're more open about our mental health, we connect more, which then decreases that loneliness that we talked about.
Right, that's true. And what are some of the things that you feel that we can control? I know a lot of things are out of our control, like
Right.
the news and things, but what
Yeah.
are some things that we can control to help with our own mental health?
Well, it goes back to just being physically active, sleeping well. So many people do not get adequate sleep at night, and sleep is very pertinent to our mental health. Actually, if you go long periods of time without sleep, you can develop psychosis, which could be very scary. So sleeping, our mindset, you've heard the phrase of, are you thinking with your glass half empty or half full? If you tend to think more negatively or pessimistically, you are probably going to have more depression or anxiety or feelings of anger and resentment. So making sure you are looking at the positives, finding appreciation in everyday life instead of just focusing on what's out of our control, because unfortunately society is really rough and there's a lot of bad things happening around us, and changing your mindset is in our control. Also, I said staying hydrated, but what we eat and being physically active, and then just our boundaries with technology.
Yeah.
That's like such a huge topic. So even with my children, our children, they want to be on electronics all the time. And it's so hard because that is where our world is shifting, is towards technology. But again, positively and negatively. But that is in our control. So many people doom scroll. So many people get into that habit when they're overwhelmed, they come home and they just want to sit and doom scroll on their phone.
I've never heard that term.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So
it's that just like relentless, just
Okay. And you're
not
scrolling to the
even-
next thing, scrolling to the next
you're
thing.
not even
Yeah.
looking at it. It's just a kind of thoughtless process that people do because they're so overwhelmed or just tired.
And I'll admit, like, I'm guilty
I
of
know,
that. Like,
me
when
too.
I'm really stressed out, like, I will go home and, like, for the, like, first couple minutes that I'm home, I, like, say hi to my kids, and then I'm like, oh, I just need to de-stress.
And kids, the younger generation, I mean, we really want to protect them from being so dependent on improving their mental health from technology. So again, that's in our control. And then the sources that we receive information from, that's a big one. So many people will Google, right, technology. So many people will Google their symptoms, will Google, mental health, physical health, or just anything off of the internet, and you can't always believe what you read.
Yes, the fact that it's in print does not mean that it's true.
We get a lot of people that come to us that have already self-diagnosed themselves, and so we have to really work towards helping people understand that their real diagnosis, and even for medical concerns, so many people will use sources that are not reliable, and that's where it's important to check your sources and seek medical professional opinions.
If I want to look up
Definitely.
symptoms, I go to Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
I don't look at any
Yes.
other one
I
other
love
than
Mayo
Mayo
Clinic.
Clinic. And I figure, if it's on there, then there's
Yes.
been at least some research. It doesn't mean it's still 100%,
Right.
but there's a chance. Yeah, you don't want to read what somebody else posted. Last week I had these symptoms, and
Right.
yeah.
Definitely. And Mayo Clinic is one that I use quite often too.
Okay, good.
And I wanted to say, as far as like the social media thing and like understanding your source, because we do get a lot of patients who like come in and like some of these videos are very general, especially when it comes to mental health. And so people will share some of the symptoms, but not all of the symptoms, which can send some people into anxiety because, they come in and they're like, I think I might be autistic. And
Or
and the-
ADHD is one of the
ADHD, yes. You have some people who are like, I think I might be borderline. And they'll show me a video and I'm like, okay, well, it only shared some of it, like not all of it. So connecting with a mental health provider or like your primary care provider is really important for stuff like that. So like if you ever are concerned, like definitely reach out, because then that way somebody can kind of help you navigate like what those symptoms actually look like.
And you girls, don't just pick up a book and decide something. You have a lot of
Right.
education that you have gone through, and a lot of studies that you keep up on to try to keep up on the latest information. And some people, don't notice. Do you see sometimes that things are like? It must be a lot going on ADHD because everybody seems to have this, and then there'll be another study out or something, and I think I have this.
I see a lot of people posting, my ex has narcissistic personality disorder, and if they exhibit any of these symptoms, and so I can't remember the exact number, but the American Medical Association said it's like either 7 or 9% of the population really have narcissistic personality disorder. But if you do, you look at it, it's like, oh, he or she has this because they have this criteria.
Right.
So, but yeah, we see an uptick in ADHD, autism, of people self-diagnosing themselves.
And you have to think with that algorithm too. So
Yes.
like if you like one video that
Right.
talks about ADHD symptoms, and they're going to show you more and more, and then you're going to go down that rabbit hole of, oh yes, I definitely think I have
Yeah.
ADHD.
Right. It is funny that I'm older and I'm not up on all the technology, but I'll see something that suddenly, why am I getting all of these things trying to sell me something about a dog with this certain thing wrong with it, and it's like, what do you mean? Does every dog has this now? It's
I love
and you forget that there's something in the
true.
background that's feeding you these things. It's not just your
Exactly.
friend saying, "Look what I had for dinner tonight." It's other things. So, wow.
And I will tell you that as a therapist, I get ads for like therapy things all the time where they're like, oh, try this like breathing thing to help you with your anxiety.
Yes. And I think our phones listen to us as well, because I don't even type in the phone and it gives me things I discussed.
And there's something now with tapping. Is that?
yeah.
I just had, suddenly I've seen that 2 or 3 times. It's like, okay. So, well, I think you girls must be in the right profession because you're so friendly and you're so positive and happy that I think someone spending time with you would have to leave feeling better about themselves.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
I think
you.
very
I,
mindful.
Well,
I know that's a huge compliment. I'm like, oh, I can leave for the day now.
no, I don't believe you can. Read, yes, no. Now, on the more serious, now if somebody is
Yeah.
really, they're sitting there watching us today and they're just like, I'm really not supposed to be here. I don't know what I can do. What are the steps that someone should take that's
Yeah.
questioning their status?
Definitely. One of the things that I would recommend first is reaching out to your support system, talking to somebody about what's going on. From there, if you're maybe your symptoms are a little more intense, then maybe reaching out to your PCP, and maybe they can.
PCP is
Oh, your primary care physician.
okay.
I apologize.
Thank you. That's fine.
Being in the hospital setting, you get used to those
Yes.
acronyms, so thank you. So talking to your doctor about those symptoms, and then maybe they can offer you some treatment options, or maybe a referral to a mental health provider, like a psychiatrist or a mental health nurse practitioner. And then if it's like more of a crisis type situation, I would definitely recommend like 988. They have really streamlined things where you can either call, text, chat.
Are you aware with 988?
Just a little, but
Okay.
please tell our
Oh,
viewers
yeah.
more, please.
Yeah, so 988 is our national crisis line. And you can call them if you're in an emotional crisis or if you're having thoughts of suicide or homicide. And so, because in the past we've always talked about it as a suicide hotline, but it's actually a crisis hotline. So even if you're in an emotional crisis, it is a line that you can call, because some people think that you can't, because they're like, well, I'm not suicidal, so I can't call that line. And I'm like, but if you're in emotional distress, you could definitely call. And then they have different options for veterans, where if you identify yourself as a veteran, they will connect you to the veteran section of 988.
And LGBTQ as
Yeah.
well. They have their own resources too.
Okay.
And then they also offer it, I want to say, in English and Spanish right now.
Okay,
So,
good. Okay.
But some other things that you can do. So just like if you maybe aren't at the point of like needing to reach out to your doctor, and maybe you're reaching out to your support system. I mean, there are things that you can do for yourself and like really ramp up some of your coping skills that you have. So I would definitely say like mood boosters, like we were talking, like this is like the positive and negative side of social media, because sometimes like watching some funny videos on social media could be a mood booster to say like, okay, I feel a little bit better.
My favorite videos are raccoons washing cotton candy. Have you ever seen that?
That is so
no,
cute.
but I have a raccoon on my deck that I would like to send to your house to eat your cotton candy.
Give them cotton candy because they're so
them
cute
cotton
with
candy.
their little paws that they try to wash the cotton candy and it disappears. Sorry. Barbie knows how much I love raccoons.
I do.
My husband's
it's a daily
not
discussion.
a fan of me getting one. Sorry.
Oh, well, could say I have one that needs a new home.
But no, sorry, Barbie. I just had to
No,
throw
you're
that raccoon
fine.
comment in there. But mood
I was about to
boosters.
say, we all have our little niche of things that we like to
Yeah.
watch, because I love those little Sphinx cats, the hairless cats, like whenever they take baths and they like paw at the water.
Yeah.
And that makes you happy and
It
relaxes
does.
you
It
and
does.
kind of resets. Now for me, I watch Big Bang Theory.
Oh, I
We
love
love
that
that.
show.
You know,
Yeah.
7, 8 a night. You know, I do. That's I read with it on because I still know the words. You
Yeah.
know,
Of course.
and that's how if you're down, you just listen to a few of those and
You laugh every now and then. And
yes.
Reading is another good one too. So just becoming, so if you are struggling with your mental health, as Barbie said, healthy coping strategies, reading a book, drawing, getting involved. What are some other ones?
so, I mean,
Mindfulness.
being with your pet,
Yeah.
definitely practicing mindfulness. A lot of like relaxation techniques, like participating in yoga, doing the program that you were talking about
Aging
earlier.
well, living well, or
Thank you,
the other
yeah.
way around. Yes.
Say
Just-
that would be a great thing to do, to connect with people, because like connecting also can help with your mental health. And then also like working through your feelings, because sometimes we have big feelings and we're not sure how to address them. And then so we reach out and we start to think like, oh goodness, like maybe I need to really talk to somebody. But sometimes those big feelings can be worked through on their own, you know, and so you can write things down. Write out how you feel. You can like rip up paper, scream at a pillow, punch a pillow, you know, work out some of those bigger feelings, talk to people about them, and like allow yourself to process how you feel and like what are some of those thoughts behind it.
I know when I'm upset, if I write something down and then after it's like, oh, you know, okay, I couldn't say that, but I feel better. I got it out.
Exactly.
And nobody heard it. And then you can, you know, think through, okay, this is the way this could be handled in a nicer way, just to get it out. Yeah.
I love that. I love it because that's exactly what that's for. Because it helps us. It helps us see our situations from a different perspective. Because
so
you know we're in an emotional
now already. Right?
And as
I promise you I'm not.
No, yeah, me neither. And as the weather gets nice, go outside. So the mindfulness, just be present in the moment. So much of our time is spent focusing on what we don't have control over, right? Like the past and then the future. What are we going to do? And just be present in the moment. And that's really hard to do.
Right.
It can be. It can be.
And I know gardening is important, and I've read that just
gardening is
touching the
great.
dirt and being in the dirt, you know, it's therapeutic for you. You know, I mean, do you find that's true? That's what I've read. It's good, and then of course you put the bulb in there, and you know that's a future thing you can look forward to, is that bulb sprouting. And
I was gonna say, and it gives you things to look forward to, like your hobbies, and you know, like just like your stress relievers. So volunteering is a great one, and doing some of those acts of kindness.
I have to say I love gardening, but I get these wild onions and I am obsessed with pulling them out of my yard. So it could also be negative.
Maybe that's why you don't have any raccoons.
Maybe. No, I secretly love pulling weeds, but those wild onions kind of drive me a little nuts.
Okay. But then your hands smell, don't they, once you pull them?
Yeah. Not too bad.
Yes, okay. Yes, we've done that too. Well, girls, or ladies, I really appreciate it. And just a question, if someone is just feeling, I just don't know what to do they go to the emergency room? If it's like after hours, they can't call the doctor, what should they do right at that moment?
I think it depends on the severity of it, right? So if somebody is experiencing a crisis, right, and they are in imminent danger to themselves or other people, they really need to call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room.
Okay.
But if they are experiencing a crisis that could be manageable, they could call 988 or just text 988. And as Barbie mentioned, just talk to someone, get connected with somebody. And a lot of times when we're in a crisis, we feel alone. So make sure you have a good support system and have kind of a list of people you can reach out to.
Definitely.
Okay.
And I definitely piggyback off of what April said. Like 988 is so great. And I know a lot of people get concerned about the fact that they're going to call 988 and then they'll call the cops or the police and send people out. And they only do that in about 2% of their phone calls. Like 98% is they manage it through just talking to the person.
Right. And then they are able to refer them to someone locally.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Well, I really appreciate that. And we've done so well talking about different things that I didn't cover a couple of things. If you don't mind, I'll hit
go
for Healthy Fayette County. We do an art stroll, and it's the second Friday of every month from April to October. And so it starts now this month in April, and it will be. And we'll have a flash mob and some music going on. And so it'll be fun. And the street will be closed on Central between 4th and 5th. And so you can participate in that. And we should have some hopscotch going on and things. So a lot of things going on at the art gallery. There's always a display going on. And there's classes. April 5th, they have a class on macrame. And they have to be announced junk journaling, the mandala dot painting, photography, oil painting series, and watercolor painting series. So check with the Facebook page for the Whitewater Valley Arts Association. And I thank you again for being here and we celebrate mental health awareness, and we appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining us, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
It's been
you.
great. Thank you.